In a decision that will echo for generations, the Supreme Court has fundamentally changed the landscape of gun ownership in America with a landmark 6-3 ruling, striking down long-standing state regulations on concealed carry and setting a new national precedent. The decision dismantles century-old may-issue systems which previously allowed local authorities to exercise discretion and deny permits, even to applicants who met all basic criteria. Now, that power is gone and the process is fundamentally altered. The court has declared that the Second Amendment protects not just the right to own firearms at home, but also the right to carry them in public for self-defense. This forces states across the country to overhaul their gun laws, removing barriers that have existed for decades. Gun rights advocates are celebrating this as a historic affirmation of constitutional freedom, calling it a victory for personal liberty and the right to self-protection. On the other hand, gun control supporters warn that the ruling could lead to more violence and accidental shootings, raising fears about public safety and the potential for increased gun-related incidents in everyday life. The ruling's impact is immediate and far-reaching, reshaping local policing strategies, public safety protocols, and even the sense of security people feel in public spaces. Law enforcement agencies are now reassessing how they approach their duties in a society where more people may be legally armed. Globally, the decision reinforces America's unique and sometimes controversial commitment to individual firearm rights, drawing both admiration from those who value personal freedom and concern from those who fear the consequences. As states scramble to rewrite their laws and adapt to this new legal framework, the world watches closely, waiting to see the real-world consequences of this profound legal transformation and how it will shape the future of American society. The nation now stands at a crossroads, facing a new legal reality that will not only reshape American society, but also redefine the balance between individual rights and collective safety for years to come. The Second Amendment, ratified in 1791, has long fueled debate over whether it protects a collective or individual right to bear arms. For much of American history, courts linked gun rights to militia service, not personal use. This changed with the 2008 Supreme Court case District of Columbia versus Heller, which affirmed an individual's right to possess firearms for self-defense at home. Heller left open questions about carrying guns outside the home, leading to a patchwork of state laws. Some states required authorities to issue permits to anyone meeting objective criteria, while others demanded applicants show a special need, giving officials broad discretion. Gun rights advocates argued these may-issue systems turned a constitutional right into a privilege. Opponents saw them as necessary public safety measures. This legal conflict set the stage for the Supreme Court's latest ruling. The court was tasked with clarifying the Second Amendment's reach beyond the home. The Supreme Court's 6-3 decision, led by Chief Justice John Roberts, declared that the Second Amendment protects the right to carry a handgun for self-defense outside the home. The ruling strikes down may-issue licensing regimes, requiring states to issue permits to law-abiding citizens without demanding a special need. The majority argued that constitutional rights cannot be subject to government officials' discretion. Dissenting justices, led by Sonia Sotomayor, warned the decision disregards precedent and undermines public safety. The court clarified that states can still ban guns in sensitive places and require objective licensing criteria like background checks and training. The key change is states can no longer deny permits based on subjective judgments. May-issue states must now become shall-issue, shifting the balance of power toward citizens. This marks a fundamental transformation in American gun law. Chief Justice Roberts' opinion argued that the right to self-defense doesn't end at the front door, it extends into public life. The majority traced this right through English and American history, concluding that public carry is deeply rooted in tradition. May-issue laws, they said, are a modern invention and not part of the Second Amendment's original understanding. The court replaced the old legal test with a new one. If a gun regulation lacks a clear historical analog, it's likely unconstitutional. This shift could threaten many modern gun control measures. The majority framed the decision as a matter of fairness, ending a system where only the privileged could get permits. By mandating a shall-issue standard, the court aims for a more uniform, objective process. This ruling signals a new era for gun rights in America. In a powerful and impassioned dissent, Justice Sotomayor issued a stark warning that the Supreme Court's ruling could have deadly consequences, arguing that it places the right to bear arms above the fundamental need for public safety. She cautioned that this decision risks making communities across the country more vulnerable to gun violence, as it prioritizes individual gun rights over the collective well-being of society. Justice Sotomayor pointed out that, throughout American history, governments have exercised the authority to regulate firearms in public spaces. She cited centuries of laws and regulations specifically designed to prevent violence and protect citizens, emphasizing that these measures have long been considered both reasonable and necessary for maintaining order and safety. The dissent strongly accused the majority of selectively interpreting history, claiming they cherry-picked examples that fit their narrative while ignoring the complex realities of modern gun violence. Sotomayor argued that the majority's approach oversimplifies a deeply nuanced issue, failing to account for the evolving threats faced by today's communities. She further emphasized that a one-size-fits-all approach to gun regulation is deeply flawed, as it disregards the vastly different needs and challenges faced by urban and rural communities. Cities, with their dense populations and unique risks, require different solutions than sparsely populated rural areas. Justice Sotomayor warned that forcing cities like New York to adopt the same gun laws as rural areas defies common sense and undermines local efforts to keep residents safe. She argued that local governments must retain the flexibility to address their own public safety concerns. The dissent predicted that this ruling will unleash a wave of legal challenges to a wide range of gun safety laws, from restrictions on high-capacity magazines to red flag laws designed to prevent tragedies before they occur. Sotomayor expressed concern that these important safeguards could be struck down, leaving communities less protected. By adopting the new text, history, and tradition test, the court has opened the door to dismantling a broad spectrum of existing regulations. This new standard, she warned, could make it much harder for lawmakers to enact or uphold laws that address today's urgent public safety needs. In her closing remarks, Sotomayor made it clear that the consequences of this decision will not be abstract. They will be measured in lives lost, families shattered, and communities forever changed by preventable acts of gun violence. The dissent views this ruling as a troubling example of judicial activism, with the potential for tragic and far-reaching consequences for American society. As the nation continues to grapple with the issue of gun safety, one thing is clear: the debate is far from settled, and the stakes have never been higher. The ruling will immediately affect millions, especially in states that must now switch to shall-issue systems. More people will be able to carry concealed firearms in public, changing the dynamics of everyday life. Supporters see this as empowering self-defense. Opponents fear more guns will escalate conflicts and accidents. Public spaces may feel different, with some feeling safer and others more anxious. State legislatures will face fierce debates over new laws, training requirements, and sensitive places. The ruling also strengthens gun rights in states that already have permissive laws, making future restrictions harder to pass. The new legal standard could challenge other gun regulations nationwide. This decision sets the stage for ongoing political and legal battles over gun control. For law enforcement, the ruling brings new challenges and risks. Officers in former May-issue states must adapt to a reality where many more people are legally armed. Police training will need to change, as the presence of a concealed gun is no longer suspicious by itself. This increases the difficulty and stress of routine encounters, raising the stakes for split-second decisions. There's concern that more guns in public could make police-citizen interactions more tense and dangerous. Investigating gun crimes may become harder as the number of legally carried firearms rises. Law enforcement agencies must rethink strategies and allocate resources to navigate this new landscape. The ruling fundamentally alters the relationship between police and the public. Dr. Evelyn Reed, a constitutional law expert, emphasizes that this Supreme Court ruling marks a pivotal moment in American legal history. She notes that it is even more significant than the landmark Heller decision because it fundamentally shifts the legal landscape. Previously, the default position was no unless you prove need, meaning individuals had to demonstrate a special reason to carry a firearm. Now, the default is yes unless you're disqualified, dramatically expanding who can legally carry guns in public. The court's adoption of the new text, history, and tradition test makes it much more difficult for states to justify and pass modern gun regulations. Laws must now be rooted in historical precedent, not just contemporary concerns about safety or crime. Dr. Reed explains that under this new standard, the government can no longer require citizens to justify their need to carry a gun, just as it cannot demand a reason to exercise free speech or practice religion. This elevates the right to bear arms to a level of protection similar to other fundamental rights. The impact on public safety remains highly uncertain. Studies on the relationship between guns and crime are deeply divided, with some suggesting more guns lead to more violence, while others argue that armed citizens can deter crime. Experts caution that the real-world effects will be complex and may not be fully understood for years. This ruling effectively launches a massive, real-world experiment in some of America's most densely populated cities. Millions of people will be affected, and the results, whether positive or negative, may take years, or even decades, to become clear. Legal uncertainty now looms large. The Supreme Court left the definition of sensitive places, where guns can still be restricted, vague and open to interpretation. This guarantees a wave of lawsuits as states, cities, and courts struggle to define what restrictions are still allowed. Every gun law that lacks a clear historical precedent is now vulnerable to challenge. Laws that were once considered settled may be overturned, and new legal battles are almost certain to arise in courts across the country. Dr. Reed warns that this is just the beginning of a new and unpredictable phase in the ongoing legal battle over gun rights and regulations. The coming years will likely see a patchwork of different rules and ongoing debates. The stakes are high for everyone, whether you are a gun owner, a parent, a law enforcement officer, or simply someone concerned about community safety. The effects of this decision will ripple through every corner of American society. The nation is now entering truly uncharted territory, with the future of gun laws and public safety hanging in the balance. This Supreme Court decision will shape your community, your state, and the country for years to come. It redefines the balance between individual gun rights and public safety, tilting toward personal freedom. The ruling will change laws, law enforcement procedures, and the feel of public spaces. Stay informed and engaged as your state rewrites its laws and debates new regulations. Your voice matters. Contact officials, participate in debates, and help shape the future of gun policy. The path forward requires a shared commitment to both safety and freedom. How Americans respond, through laws, policies, and daily life, will define the nation's character. The story is still being written, and its outcome depends on all of us.